Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Thursday Night Smite. We've got the whole squad out here. I'm Tom, this is Toli, and that's Ryan. And we're going to get things going with the rest of the team as well. Hindu and Taku will have the breakdown as far as the commentary is concerned for tonight. We're going to bring you a full-fledged whole desk worth of analysis. So why don't I introduce my co-commentators? Like I went down the line already, but Toli, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. We saw some exciting games in the last couple of games, especially the last set. Oh my goodness.
It was super close. I mean, that was a ton of fun. I mean, if this second North American set is anything like the first, we're in for a treat here on Thursday Night Smite.
I didn't really ask you to speak yet, Aggro, but
well,
I guess you
totally looked at me, and so I just assumed that it was okay with you. I'll ask next time.
Already
Tom,
off to a fantastic start. Ryan, Aggro, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. If the second North American set is anything like the first, we're in for a great night of Thursday Night Smite.
Yeah, if you guys are just joining us, our North American, well, we saw upsets all across the way, honestly. We saw a fantastic upset coming out from In Memory of Gabe, or rather against them. Noble winds up taking the 2-0 above the opposition, which was honestly very surprising. And we saw a couple of other European knockdowns as well, so should be very interesting. ALG headed into eUnited today. eUnited, new name and a little bit of a new team. It's gonna be the guys formerly known as Enemy with one of their old squad mates. Aggro, we were talking about Enemy a while ago off air. Why don't you tell me about what you think about this new roster change here?
Yeah, so I mean, we saw Aruzi's there in the solo lane for the Enemy squad, and he was getting there. You know, we talked to Pain after one of their sets last week, and he said that he still had some ranked tendencies, but his mechanics were definitely there. And if you read Pain's statement about this switch from Benji moving over from Soar to join his old teammates on now what is eUnited, he said that the mechanics were never a problem for Aruzi's, and he feels bad about this benching, but sometimes you just get an opportunity to pick up a really, really strong player. Benji, then known as Salt Machine, comes in second place a couple years ago at Worlds with Pain and Khaos, so you really want to reunite those guys. Benji definitely has the potential to make this team really, really great if he can stay focused and committed.
General PainDeViande has just been so good about scouting everybody potentially for Enemy. He has basically turned the second season Enemy team into a second place team, and then third season got off to a great start as well for Enemy. Started slipping a little bit in the fall season, and then heading into season 4, pick up somebody completely unknown in the side of Aruzi's, and still General PainDeViande Enemy trusts, because the fact that now reunited with Benji, who has some great mechanical skills necessary to win matchups he normally shouldn't win ever.
Reunited with eUnited is going to be the situation tonight.
Is that the face you've been making this entire time because you figured out that little line?
He forced it, so. He forced the issue.
You guys couldn't see it. I was off camera, but I just gave the biggest grin to Aggro because it was a race to say it. I knew you were going to say it. But either way, reunited is eUnited. We've got Benji over there in the solo lane. And one question I want to ask you specifically, Toli, is that so Benji and Vedium have been a unit. Yeah. Both in-game and, I mean, at a game. They're obviously close friends. They have been a really strong unit. Benji separating from Soar seems to be on both sides of the coin. Both Soar wanted to step away and Benji wanted to leave the squad, so really not a problem there. But do you think the separation of Benji from his longtime partner, Vedium over there in the long lane, do you think that's going to impact the team?
Not at all. It's two different side lanes that are just left alone for majority of the game, and with Season 4 dictating different strategies of how you want to invade, whether you want to invade solo or the Hunter side. It doesn't really matter for a plug-and-play as Benji joining eUnited. I'm expecting just more aggression because that's something Benji really likes to do. He likes to play super aggressive and in your face, and that's basically eUnited style.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a solo laner is losing his jungler or even his mid laner that's over there a lot of the time.
Right.
He is, I mean, on the other side of the world, it feels like most of the time in the Hunter lane. So it is a little bit unfortunate that, you know, two guys who have spent so much time together decide to go their separate ways, but that's just kind of the maturity of a career in this sort of sense.
Absolutely. Sometimes you got to step away in order to make things a little bit more successful. eUnited certainly going to do that and certainly look poised to do that. We'll head to picks and bans for game number 1. ALG versus eUnited in their first game under the new banner. So a little bit of background into this one. It's basically kind of the same crew coming out from the guys on Enemy, but new money, new brand. So eUnited, a lot of big investors behind them. This is going to be a really big push, and this is going to be their first game underneath the new banner. So very exciting period of time for the guys on that team. Zeus Cirquet will be banned out next to Sylvanas.
A very exciting time for if you're an Enemy fan. Yeah, you lose your brand, but like you mentioned, you got a new one to root for. for, and basically the same squad. On the side of Allegiance, they're looking to bounce back after a split against Noble that, you know, that was a pretty close set back and forth. Allegiance still in the middle of the pack as far as standings go, as well as I think the public perception of where they belong. This would be a great win for them to try and jump up in the standings.
eUnited on the flip side, you know, coming off a 2-0 victory against Noble, splitting against Team Eager as well.
Yeah.
They have more momentum than Team Allegiance right now, so it's going to be very important for them to extend this as we're in week number 3 out of 7 for the SPL.
Metyankey will be playing the Thoth unless he winds up somewhere weird like the solo lane, but I expect this to be in the mid lane for Team Allegiance, undoubtedly. Ymir and Medusa selected. Pretty much a very strong go-to solo long lane that we've seen recently. Ymir and Medusa just combined together for so much push.
Yeah, Pain has been really, really liking this Ymir early on in Season 4, and PandaCat made a highlight reel play, hitting like a 4-man Petrify in the jungle against Eager. They really turned that set in their favor. Love the early Medusa pick for PandaCat. I think he's very, very comfortable on it right now. And the difference between PandaCat when he's comfortable and when he's not comfortable, it's night and day. He looks like one of the best hunters in the world when he's comfortable and can be kind of invisible when he isn't.
And what better god than Medusa for that position,
Absolutely.
because having a lot of outplay potential with her mobility, a lot of hunters have been experimenting and successfully doing so with Fatalis, and this is a god that succeeds very well with this item.
Yeah, as long as we see the Fatalis on the Medusa and not the Hercules, I think this is going to be a good game for eUnited. When it comes down to it, I have to call up this Circuit ban. Verizial in the jungle, otherwise known as Shattered or Scream or any of his other names. Verizial, the jungler. He plays interestingly. He's more defensive than most junglers. I wouldn't go so far to say he's like a DJ Pernicus or a Weekend, but he has that sort of flair. The Circuit seems a little bit out of the ordinary, whereas the Susano, we've seen him play fantastically on the Susano. It's a character that you can both be a setup man and offensive at the same time. It's a perfect fit for Verizial. I'm very curious about the Circuit ban over the Susano ban.
Circuit just really strong in the meta right now. You expect that any SPL level jungler, especially with the skill level of Verizial, is going to be able to play it well. But like you mentioned, Susano, one of his comfort picks. Same can be said for Khaos, now piloting this Agni. We haven't seen a whole lot of Agni outside of anyone outside of Khaos who still really loves this god.
It's also very easy for Circuit to be able to camp that solo lane, so it alleviates a lot of pressure away from Benji. On top of this, it eliminates some sustain options, and looking at Team Allegiance's team composition, they're going for the Cupid and the Terra, so Circuit being taken off the table allows these gods to succeed in keeping their team alive.
I love the Agni pick. It's going to be a throwback. A lot of CC on the side of eUnited as far as Team Allegiance is concerned. They're looking for the big brawn. We've got Taco and Hindu standing by with the game.
Thanks so much, F-Dot, and the guys on the analyst desk as well. Me and Taco are here, ready to go. You don't get a desk.
I don't get a desk, and that's why they had to put me here, because now there's one over there.
If I don't get a desk, she don't get a desk, so she's going to stand with me and cast this game. She can suck it, so can you guys if you think she deserves one. Let's get into game, though, and get on with things right now. Taco's going to have to learn the hard way, first of all, before she gets the chance to have a seat or a desk.
Well, I am learning Hindu, and it's hurting my feelings greatly.
It's okay. It's always hard to learn. I've been there before. Into game we go. Allegiance versus eUnited. If you're just tuning in, don't know who eUnited are, it is the squad that was enemy. They are now eUnited. They kept the E and added United. Not a bad name to have.
No, not a bad name at all, and neither are these giraffes. I really like both of these team compositions coming out, because I feel like what most of this is going to come down to is just who plays the team fight better, because there's ways for both teams to counter each other whenever they try to initiate or disengage, and I think it'll make things really, really spicy as we move forward into this game.
Well, this is very interesting from Allegiance here in game one. Look at their composition. CycloneSpin's going to be running the Terra solo, a little bit of a page out of Devios' book, but then PolarBearMike going to run the Amaterasu, a little bit of a page out of Emilzi's book over in Europe. We have seen it once or twice in North America, but Emilzi really made this shine, so Allegiance really coming together this year, it feels like, Taco, and realizing a lot of things that have been going on in the rest of the SPL.
Personally, I feel like putting the Amaterasu in this dual lane is going to be a lot more beneficial on the side of Allegiance, because it's going to give them a little bit more push than what they might have been able to find had they put the Terra there, because Terra isn't exactly known for her early game, and so it's a little bit more flexibility. But you can see right away, you know, eUnited are not looking to back down in the slightest, already going for the invade early on, and PainDeViande picking up that support buff.
And Allegiance in the dual lane recognized they were going to be behind there, so what they did was do their little babies at the red and purple camp, then take the wave as well. So now all level 2 on the left-hand side. In the mid lane, Allegiance once again pressured with 2, invaded the red buff. Now they've pressured again in the mid lane, and they're invading the speed as well.
PainDeViande taking a little bit more poke than I think he was anticipating there as well, taking the stun from the Cupid bomb as well as some archer damage, putting him pretty low early on, which is exactly what Allegiance needed to happen in order to not fall super far behind.
How is Cupid right now, Taco, in the duo lane? And we've seen a little bit more of it this season. What is it that Cupid's bringing that the other hunters aren't?
Cripple against these high mobility compositions, which is what eUnited kind of have. You know, you see the Susano, you see the Vamana, the Agni, PandaCat with the dash on Medusa. Just so many ways for them to get cut off if Oceans can secure a solid Cupid ultimate, which could be devastating to eUnited.
Well, you see the purple buff invade from Allegiance there. So answering back to the purple they lost a little bit earlier on, as Allegiance in the mid lane have pressure again. But back to the duo. Pain thinking about going for an engagement. It's actually PolarBearMike that'll go aggressive first of all with a silence. It does once again help with the lane pressure for Allegiance.
And again, Allegiance able to pick up that purple buff purely because of the fact that PainDeViande just took way too much poke damage early on, so he had to sit back, he had to go ahead, let his pots tick away and heal him up, which gave Allegiance the perfect opportunity to go ahead, get in there, take the buff, and get back out.
Pressure on CycloneSpin on the right-hand side, still only level 3 as both of eUnited's Jungler and Solo were level 5 there. Nice, clean, crisp kill early on against this Terra.
They got in, they got out. Benji only having to use his Vamana ultimate, and you know, we saw Veruzio popping the Susano ultimate as well to go ahead and secure it, but level 3 Terra, not really much of a way to defend yourself and stop that dive from coming through.
And that's more just invades early on. He's been left alone in this solo lane Cyclone. This is a style that he's having to get used to a little bit more these days, not being babysat by Weaken so much.
I think it's really good for Cyclone to go ahead and be on this Terra though, because even if he's going to be getting punished early on, we've seen this before whenever Divios has run it, where teams try to put a little bit more emphasis onto that solo lane Guardian to put pressure and punish that weak early clear. But if Cyclone can just wait it out, take a, maybe 1 death, 2 deaths at the most, I think that they'll be fine once it gets to that point in the time where the team fights are coming through. You've got Cyclone ulting from the other side of the map, potentially keeping Benji in lane, which could be a lot more beneficial to Allegiance.
Well, with that 1 kill lead, that's the only goal difference in the game so far at the moment between these two teams. It's only 3.5 minutes in, though. It's great for eUnited, though, when you actually look at Veruzio and Benji combining for that first blood as well, Taco. Because those who haven't played together on the same roster, yeah, they've both been part of Enemy, but they were never there at the same time before.
Hey, I mean, old rosters, new faces, synergy is all that really matters. It doesn't matter. You can teach a dog old tricks, or a new dog old tricks. You know what? I'm just going to give up on that one.
Dogs and tricks, something like that. After would have helped you out for sure and just started talking about dogs there. But with the pressure that Legion's got in mid lane, got in the duo lane, they steal the red and they're setting up a little cheeky trap for Pain. The stun from Metyankey, the Fields of Love come down as well, but Pain is still alive. The meditation kept him strong, but the final judgment from Metyankey will spell the demise of the captain of eUnited.
And that's exactly the risk that you run when you're facing off against a Cupid in that duo lane. Ocean's right away dropping the ultimate onto Ymir, who already struggles with mobility, so just complete and utter punishment onto PainDeViande. Not even the Medusa ult from PandaCat could save him.
But they managed to get PainDeViande, but they lose their own jungle on the right-hand side. Speed and blue stolen, and now Allegiance looking here to answer that back with a Gold Fury. Nobody here to contest. Khaos still in the mid lane, jungle pressure on the right. Allegiance get the Gold Fury.
At this point in the game, I would probably prefer to have a Gold Fury over the buffs on the solo lane side, just because of the fact that once you take that objective off the map, it opens up a lot more map pressure for you, and you don't necessarily have to be concerned, okay, if we rotate over to the solo lane to try and help out Cyclone.
Flanky in the mid lane. Pressure on Metyankey here. The freeze was a little bit late from Pain. Weaken going to be able to get away with the bees as well, and that's going to cause a lot of problems overall to continue going forward with this team. Now, continuing to pressure on and continue pushing down the waves for the time being. Obviously, really weird situation right now as we tune in with the duo lane for the time being. Cupid just continues to farm up. Ocean's having a pretty good game on that for the time being. And Amaterasu continuing to farm up too, just watching the pressure right now. So these two compositions on paper, you said you liked the drafts, but who do you favor more often than not here? Who do you favor, Taco, overall with the drafts? Who do you feel like has the better draft overall at the moment?
I feel like Cupid can place a little bit more punishment onto the side of enemies, or of eUnited's draft. And so with that in mind, if they're not careful at the same time and just banking too much off of this Cupid ultimate, Medusa can still come through with punishment if the timing isn't right.
Going to be a very interesting game as this one goes on. Quick pause coming out between these two teams right now. With the downtime of pauses, generally it's people like are trying to sort themselves out in terms of what is wrong with maybe their account or just making sure that they get logged back in game or whatever. But what do you do in these downtimes as a pause? What do you expect these players are talking about? What the rotations are now? What's up next? What do you do in this downtime?
Well, considering that eUnited are probably aware at this point in time that the Gold Fury has been taken off the map, I think a lot of the times they just want to go ahead and discuss, maybe try and prioritize other parts of the map.
And now back into the game we go. 1-1. Oracle's going to go the way here of Allegiance just at the end. PolarBearMike doing a good job of that for the time being. And I guess that kind of threw them for a loop a little bit here, Taco, with the fact that it is actually solo Terra and support Amaterasu. Pretty sure they expect to see Amaterasu in the solo lane here.
I mean, it's something that would be a lot more conventional for Cyclone's God Pool. We've seen him before run those more warrior-style kind of characters as opposed to, like, the Guardians, for instance. Guardian is completely... I wouldn't say foreign to Cyclone, but it's definitely not something that teams are accustomed to him running. So they're not really sure what to expect, I think, out of this Terra solo. Is he going to be trying to prioritize ganking? Is he just looking to drop his ultimate whenever it's up? Either way, I think it still poses a threat to eUnited.
Well, we saw eUnited do this a little bit earlier on where they tried to wrap round the back. They didn't find Metyankey last time. They may do this time. Pull again. Freeze this time on Mike, who instantly responds with an ultimate of his own. Turns that back around on PainDeViande. Final Judgment hits 2. Pain's on his last legs. Weaken credit for the kill. Still, though, Verizio going to get a good knock up with the ultimate, but Khaos is too low to get involved. Benji's rotation. He tries to support and look to clean up kills. The bad news is no one's low enough.
And that Thoth ultimate coming through into the Cabrakan setup, that is prime initiation from the Cabrakan. Weaken just able to go ahead, lock them down. That way Metyankey just can charge up that Final Judgment as much as he wants to and just let it fly. And you can see Pain just keeps on getting continually punished in these immobile corners.
Petrify versus Fields of Love there over on the left-hand side of things. It was an even trade between the two. Neither hunter used beads there, which just shows you how good both of those hunters really are.
And you could tell the main reason why they wouldn't want to prioritize using their beads in that instance is because Oceans knew that the stun was going to come through on his ultimate, but PandaCat knew that his Petrify was going to lock down Oceans, so not really a need for it.
One for one.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, Oceans, I think, got the better end of that trade.
Okay.
Because Cupid does have a little bit of sustain, and we saw that PandaCat actually was prioritizing looking to back there, and he had to actually return to base in order to not put himself open to ganks.
And you talk about Cupid sustain there. I mean, there is a little bit of a sustain on this Allegiance roster. It's hidden, though, very well when you think about it. We've got the hearts coming out from Cupid. You've also got Amaterasu and her passive.
Yes.
Her one that's going to allow for some healing. And then on top of that, you've got CycloneSpin, not just with the ultimate, but also with the monolith as well. Plenty of healing here that you don't necessarily think about.
And it's going to be difficult for, I think, for eUnited to try and fight into that sustain, because typically when you see teams that opt for this subtle healer composition, I think that Allegiance are going to look to slowly play this game out. They want to try and fight around objectives as slowly as possible, just get as much poke damage, and they have a really high poking team. You've got the Cupid Heart Bomb, you have Metyankey, whose every single ability goes through a wall, and then Weaken also has really strong poke potential and getting out with the Cabrakan.
Freeze on 2. Weaken turns his attention to Verizio, who was coming in as well. Members of eUnited looking to try and go aggressive in the jungle now. There's the ultimate from Verizio early on, but Fields of Love in response straight away. Verizio forced to beat back to safety as PandaCat is trapped inside that ultimate coming out from Weaken, as he will disengage, but it cost him his ultimate and his beads as well. Oracle still to be contested here. PainDeViande looking to try and use the carpet to bring this down. Instead, they turn their attention towards the General, and the General will take a tumble one more time. 3 deaths already. Allegiance have really focused him down.
Just the wrong side of the map to be in. The rest of his team was looking more towards that middle lane, and you can see right away Ocean's about to get punished.
Yeah, out of position. Now Benji might be able to clean up Weaken here as well. Weaken too far away. Going to look towards PolarBearMike, who also disengages. The mobility of those two characters so strong for situations like that.
Excellent response from eUnited immediately after picking him up, and it looks like they might not be done though on the side of Allegiance.
It could be a 1-for-1. Metyankey's very low, trying to get away from it. Final Judgment to Verizio's face clears the wave as well, and that was a lot down to CycloneSpin with the support there as well.
That peel just came in absolutely clutch for Metyankey right there. You saw the root come through. Immediately, Verizial's trap doesn't really know where else to go. Hoping to try and secure that last hit onto Metyankey, but he just couldn't find it. But Metyankey, that final judgment right to the face, that had to hurt.
I'm looking at player damage right now. Attack on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see it right at the top already is Metyankey on that Thoth. We've seen a little bit more Thoth so far this week. Obviously, he did get a bit of a change. His Assault and Punish, is now only going to hit the first target and stun them. It won't stun multiple people. Is that enough to why we've seen him get through the banning phase?
Not only that, but you also have to consider, now that the SPL has been going on for a little bit, I think more pros and teams in general are just learning better how to deal with Thoth-run compositions. And after the nerf came through onto Thoth, at the same time, teams can still utilize it.
Great Petrify from PandaCat, but I don't think he's going to get away from the walls, and the tremors have weakened, though. Nice, interesting trade on the left-hand side. Good use of Allegiance there, recognizing that PandaCat's beads were still on cooldown.
And PandaCat, with these ultimates, he saved his life more than once this game with those Petrifies coming in clutch, but this time around it just wasn't enough. Weekend already had his beads available, so unfortunately, he's just going to go ahead and have to fall down.
Even though the kills say Allegiance, should be going ahead right now, the gold is still even between these two teams. Been a back-and-forth battle at 10 minutes in. Are we favoring any one over the other right now, Taco?
I wouldn't say that, but Metyankey's not going to be favored at all as he takes a spill in the mid lane.
Yeah, he does, and PolarBearMike can't do much apart from escape the ultimate himself. And we've seen the pressure they've been trying to put on Metyankey over and over again here, eUnited. That's the first successful attempt, though.
That is the first successful attempt, but I think the important part was he was just a little bit too far up in that mid lane. The halfway point is really all that they needed, because his dash, while it can get away, at the same time, you have to deal with the Ymir, who's got excellent CC lockdown.
Yeah, excellent CC lockdown. We'll see what he can do with that. As Gold Fury started again by Allegiance. They got the last one, and this is their second window of opportunity, but straight away, eUnited on the march through the jungle. You can see it was just a tester to see if they were going to get a response there.
And Oceans, Polar and Michael, they're just hanging around trying to see where else to go. With Mike's ult still being down, they're not really looking for a whole lot of initiation, I think, on that duo lane side. I think they want to try and play it a little bit more relaxed, but I wouldn't be surprised to see eUnited try and bait out some kind of Gold Fury fight.
Bomb on PolarBearMike, the wall is down, but PolarBearMike will dash away back to safety. eUnited, though, come out with what they wanted there, which was the Oracles, which is a free ward and free golden experience as well.
Can never go wrong with having a free ward on that Gold Fury, especially considering that Allegiance's draft probably favors early objective fights a little bit more.
Talking about early Gold Furies, this is the second one, but it looks like eUnited starting this one up. Weekend is rotating around as quick as he can to get in range to stop this from being done. The ultimate is dropped, but it's going to go the way of eUnited. The Fields of Love, however, may make eUnited pay for that already. Pain is down, and Allegiance not going to be able to continue the chase after that, though. One for a Gold Fury. Benji on the rotation around the back. Can't really do much to stop this, though. Benji is actually going to put some damage into Weekend, but that's all they're going to get here.
Had to force out the meditation, though, in order to help Weekend not take too much poke potential from Benji in that Vamana ultimate, but you can see Allegiance immediately going for that T1 tower.
Yeah, Tier 1 tower going to be sieged down here as well. No real minions with them right now. They're just having to tank this up, but CycloneSpin definitely tanky enough with that Breastplate of Valor and the sustain from Monolith. With the minions coming in, that Gold Fury has been answered back.
A really smart decision too by Allegiance to recognize that Gold Fury, they burned a little bit from eUnited, they were out of position, and so immediately just respond with a T1 tower, don't fall too far behind.
But not just that, the Portal Demon being looked at here, but Benji's done great work to stay alive for this long. He's still going to fall down though. The bombs rain down from Khaos. It's not enough though to pick up any kills. Khaos still wants to contest, looks for the Portal Demon, does not find it. Verizial though goes in. Lots of low health targets here from Allegiance, all trying to run away. eUnited trying to flank around the side as well. Here comes PandaCat through the corner. Lacerate doesn't hit home. The auto on Weekend does. Out to the left-hand side now goes Mike trying to speed away. The rest of his team will fall back. They do get the Portal Demon. It only costs them a 1-for-1.
That was probably in favor of Allegiance more so than anything else, because securing that Portal Demon on top of the 150 gold per player, they are going to lose their buffs though, which is semi-unfortunate, but at the same time, only losing your jungler who's a Cabrakan who's going to be prioritizing defense, if anything.
Oh, pick up in mid. Khaos stayed around too long. Panda is going to beat very early on there. Dash away, still trying to get away, but being chased down by two very mobile characters. Forces the Petrify early, didn't hit a single target with that, so no stun available. Now under the tower, being punished by Metyankey, was able to catch up to his teammates thanks to the help of Amaterasu.
That passive Amaterasu is just so good at running people down, and so when when you're combining this on top of the Terra ultimate, which also gives movement speed, on top of the sustain, there's just so much chase potential on the side of Allegiance that is really favoring them in these team fights.
Really living up to the game of the week right now, though, Taka, with the Thursday Night Smite game,
Oh,
because
yeah.
this is a balanced team. Both of them are very balanced, very close in terms of competition here. And I think a lot of people at home may have one favorite over the other, but it looks like it will always be a split this in my head when you just look at it on paper, you know?
It's really just going to come down to who has the better team fight. Can PandaCat hit another game-winning ultimate, or is Ocean's going to be the one to lock everybody down? It's really all up in the air, but that's the exciting part.
Well, you're talking to me about Hunters there. Do you think that that's where the backbone of this game's going to come to, is the Hunters overall?
More than likely, just because of the fact that if PandaCat messes up a Petrify and Oceans comes through clutch with a cripple, it's going to be really devastating one way or the other, and vice versa. I mean, Oceans could mess up his cripple, pop it too soon, and, you know, eUnited can just escape. But I feel like it'd be a lot more difficult for eUnited to escape the draft from Allegiance, just because you have the Cabrakan ultimate, you've got the Terra chase down with the Amaterasu passive, and on top of that, you just have a Thoth that can come swinging out of, like, nowhere.
That's true. Talking a little bit more about Hunters as well, we do see two different builds coming out here as well. We spoke about Hunter builds earlier on. Transcendence has kind of risen to glory right now. But Ocean's going for the Devourer's Gauntlets here. Extra sustain available for him, but it doesn't help him in the early game, does it?
No, not at all. But it's interesting that he would opt to go for the Devourer's Gauntlets, because for Cupid, you're more accustomed to seeing him as a utility-based hunter.
Wait, hold a second. Weakens in there, but like swimwear, but he didn't find the ult onto Khaos he was after. Gets good tremors off onto PandaCat, who has no beads. Ocean's 8 more than he would have liked to there. PainDeViande absorbs a lot of damage. Final Judgment hits 3, and round the back comes Cyclone. He's only on a Guardian, though. Some decent dot damage. Slows them down. Forces beads on Khaos, too. But still, Allegiance can't get there because Benji's keeping them busy on the back line. Great disengage from eUnited, but they are on the back front as Allegiance continues the chase.
Allegiance could potentially not only pick up a kill here onto the General, and you can see he's automatically in danger. Not sure Metyankey, though, coming in clutch.
And now Benji's in a bit of trouble, too. He went for the pick on Oceans to make it a 1-for-1. Instead, it's a 2-for-0 in favor of Allegiance. They're going to try and backdoor this tier 2 tower as well. It's going to take him a while with no minions here for the time being, but it may be chipped down to about half health. I think they've got to respect the fact that there may be rotations coming in. With only PandaCat showing presence and Verizial doesn't look like he's interested, they're going to lose a lot of gold for free there.
It's a lot smarter and safer for eUnited to go ahead and let that tower fall down, because even though they didn't have the minions available, Terra sustain coming through as they're sieging that tower, you can see nobody really took a lot of damage from there. It's really safe for them to go ahead and secure that.
Look at those graphs, Taco. The graphs were back to even again. PandaCat, though, in a bit of trouble here. Trapped in place by Weaken this time round. The damage out from Metyankey and Weaken combined with a little bit of assistance from Oceans there will allow them to pick up the Hunter once more, and now they can siege the gold.
A little bit of snowball starting to come through on the side of Allegiance. These weakened Cabrakan ults have been on point. He is cutting them off. Unfortunately, cut off Mike as well in that backline, but at the same time, Mike was able to deteriorate PainDeViande, or Khaos, to run away on that Agni, because there's just no way for him to enter and try and peel in the slightest for PandaCat.
Well, the last gold Fury is the only thing separating these two teams right now in terms of gold. The experience is even though when you look at the actual levels of these two players here, Taco, of all of these players, I should say, they are relatively even, but some people are ahead, some people are behind, which is making it a very interesting game.
This is just one of those stages in the game where we're going to see a lot more Fire Giant and Portal Demon dances start coming through, because of the fact that these players, like you said, they're even, but at the same time, I feel like Allegiance is definitely getting the better end of these trades. They're finding the more lockdown potential areas inside the jungle. eUnited needs to play a little bit more careful in those narrow quarters.
Well, the Hunters are starting to grow in their net worth right now, trying to climb back up. PandaCat obviously a little bit further behind, being 1 and 3. The dual lane for eUnited have not had the greatest of days so far in game 1. What's the real issue with that, Taka? Where did that really snowball from?
PandaCat's just been getting caught a lot, not necessarily out of bad positioning, but mostly just because it's really hard for a hunter with a dash to escape from the Cabrakan. The Cabrakan pick, I think, is what's really making the difference for Allegiance so far, in just that he's forcing actives so frequently.
Pressure here from Verizial onto CycloneSpin, who pops his ultimate. Round the back comes Weaken as well. Straight away goes for PandaCat again. PandaCat forced to ages defensively in the backline as Fields and Love used to keep the fight going on the front side as well. PandaCat finally gets away thanks to the help of Khaos as PainDeViande gets chipped down. The front line line of eUnited looking pretty strong right now, but they are getting slowly lower, and that's where the sustain comes into play, that Allegiance have this health lead.
This Portal Demon is probably going to go to the way of Allegiance if eUnited choose to stick around without getting a pick.
Weaken, getting pressured by Verizio for a second, but Lee's Heart's just coming into play again. Ocean's nice and healthy on the front side. Mike going to engage, but he's going to watch his mana pool a little bit here. Overusing mana means he's going to have to take a trip back or forced to meditate if need be. Portal Demon started up. Weaken doing work on the front, absorbing a lot of damage there for his team. Petrify comes out from PandaCat, but he didn't manage to get any stuns off there whatsoever. There goes PolarBearMike in again after the meditation was used on Weaken. The Portal Demon still alive. Everybody still alive. Great damage from Cyclone, and Khaos going to force him out of the fight, and that's going to cause Allegiance to relinquish and get control, rather, of the Portal Demon.
eUnited just needed to back out there a lot sooner than what they did. They can't afford to stay in these late game fights. And you can see Benji already, he's going to be locked down here. I don't really see much of a chance of him escaping. He's going to burn his active, but at the same time, I don't know if this Vamana ult's enough to buy time for him to get out of this situation.
He's buying time that they can't do the Fire Giant, though, which will allow his team to get back to defend that. But they won't be able to defend this Tier 1 tower now. And maybe Allegiance will fall straight back to base here, look to use that portal to get back up at the Fire Giant.
And that's the issue that Benji runs with staying inside that soul lane for as long as he did. He shouldn't have tried to defend that T1
the chase
tower.
is on. Verizio blinks in, gets a good pull on Oceans into the ultimate, and Khaos drops the bombs because they keep on forgetting as he gets a double as well. Cyclone now going to fall. PandaCat, though, deleted by Metyankey, and Weakens there straight for Khaos one more time. The Aegis keeps him alive for the moment, but the tremors are just too good. The wall from Pain will keep him alive for a moment as Verizio will turn to the speed buff. The best news is Allegiance haven't got the Fire Giant, but they're winning these trades well at the moment, Taco.
A little bit of an overstay by Oceans and Cyclone there. If they just backed out, gone to the Portal Demon, they probably could have gone ahead and secured that Fire Giant, considering that Benji was down. That's a lot of frontline and initiation taken off the table from eUnited, but it was a great response by eUnited to immediately rush there and punish them for that overstay.
Well, we saw the Noble game earlier on that went a long time. One team were a huge deficit. Noble were really far behind earlier on, yet still managed to come back into it and scrape out the win. And with the golden experience not being that different between these two teams right now, Taco, it's still anyone's game.
But see, for Allegiance, the benefit that they're going to have as well when it comes out to the side of the Hunters is that Oceans with the Devos, it's really going to start to shine at this stage of the game because he can afford to take a little bit of poke damage from the Fire Giant, bait out some fights and initiations around that tight space, which will give Weaken free reign if he can lock down anybody, preferably Khaos or PandaCat. Taking either of those two off the table in that area would just be absolutely devastating to eUnited right now.
Can we take a look at the player damage as well coming out here? I know we looked at healing earlier on, but I just want to see how the player stats are lining up here as well. Allegiance do have Thoth still on top at 17k, but it's 3 members of eUnited that are far behind, and which shows you the sustain that the likes of Allegiance have here is actually very, very strong for them. They've got as well the Rod of Asclepius now online for CycloneSpin as well, which is just going to increase that healing even more. And no real anti-heal, I say that, but Pestilence has just been picked up by Benji.
The thing is, though, with the Pesty, even with one anti-heal item coming through, I feel like eUnited need to prioritize a little bit more. You see Verizio, he's got the Brawler's Beat Stick now, but at the same time, there is so much sustain on the lineup of Team Allegiance, it's still going to be really difficult trying to lock down anything. And if they don't get the pick from the start of the fight, eUnited need to immediately disengage and try to heal up and come back as quickly as possible so as to not lose too much.
Well, eUnited notice they're going for the Gold Fury there. Allegiance went for the Gold Fury, so eUnited go for the Fire Giant themselves now. It's a race for Allegiance to get here to stop this in time. The whole of eUnited are burning everything they can to bring it down, but it's still not dead just yet. They will get the Fire Giant, but Pain's going to pay his price. Benji's on the run too, but Benji's getting shredded by Oceans in the backside. Still, though, PolarBearMike giving chase to the carries to get him away, and that's going to leave Benji alone. And the Heart Bomb will help Metyankey to secure a kill again. They get the Fire Giant, but lose 2 members for it. And Allegiance do have a chance to siege up this Tier 2.
A massive issue with that as well is that the 2 people they lost was their front line and engage. It's going to be really difficult for eUnited to look for any kind of return objective and seize up any towers. Even though they have the Fire Giant, you're going to be raising a lot of risk trying to go in without your front line having that sustain coming through into a sustaining lineup.
Well, Verizio did manage to get the blue buff on the right-hand side there and actually try and get some poke damage down to the Tier 2, but he had no real minions with him. Allegiance, though, even without the Fire Giant here, they're happy to pressure him mid, Weaken, happy to eat a lot of poke there, gets a nice meditation coming through from more than likely PolarBearMike there as well, and immediately they all fall back to the safety of their own half of the map, happy with the result there. Gold Fury, they lose gold, but they do get 2 towers, which means the gold lead and experience continues continues to climb.
Smart response by Allegiance to go ahead and capitalize onto the fact that eUnited didn't have a way for them to really disturb the front line for Team Allegiance. And so without the Vamana or Ymir presence, more than happy to go ahead and seize up those 2 towers.
And now they just fall back, buy a couple more items, just continue to push this lead a little bit more. You can see eUnited trying to respond to the amount of healing in this game. And I think that's what eUnited have to do, is respond and realize. I think it was a bit of an oversight to realize how much healing that Allegiance maybe had. So they didn't draft any anti-heal to begin with. And now they're kind of like, well, we kind of need a little bit more here. So we see the Divine coming online now for the likes of Khaos. We see the Pestilence, and we also see the Brawler's Beat Stick on Virizial. The anti-heal starting to get here, Taco, but is it going to be enough?
The Divine Rune on Agni is going to be massive because Agni is probably one of the best characters for that. And you see PolarBearMike, he's looking for the engage.
It's Pain who's in trouble. He's already dead. Virizial now forced out as well at half health. The walls come down from CycloneSpin, and that allows Oceans to pick up a kill. And now Allegiance push on again. Weaken going to blink in there, looking for the pickup one more time, but out of the fight for the moment. Final Judgment, it's being channeled. It's not going to come through. It's a little bit deep. Virizial will get away, so will Benji. Khaos will too, but I don't know about this Phoenix.
This Phoenix is really risky considering that PolarBearMike's got that. They have the Divine Ruin being procced by the Agni nonstop, so this is definitely a risky play.
Virizial blinked in, but he blinked into a stun that wasn't meant for him. Mike ends up getting the kill of that, and now the Phoenix can be looked at again. Benji's forced to ultimate, but Mike is happy tanking this up with the amount of sustain they've got here. You see Metyankey feeling frisky, going for Khaos in the back line there as well. 1 Phoenix down.
Full health Cupid just made that more than easy to go ahead and secure it. Virizial falling down there was actually incredibly unfortunate, and it let Allegiance know that they could go ahead and secure that Phoenix safely.
They're looking to force back the front line of eUnited again. Great walls dropped by Weaken, avoids the Petrify one more time. Still on the front side is PolarBearMike, though, dropping his ultimate onto Pain again. He's forced to shell, still committing his mic for Pain here. Don't think that's really worthwhile, but they will get what they came for, which was the Phoenix. The fight is still going down. The bombs from Khaos will pick up Mike, who are extended, but Oceans will pick him up for a double kill to join him and Benji in the fountain once more.
Unfortunate fields of love coming through there on the right-hand side from Oceans. You know, sometimes you just can't turn your mouse fast enough.
Nope.
But at the same time, it was still really smart by him to go ahead and pick up those 2 kills that are right in front of him, chase down potential with the Fatalis, and he's absolutely shredding with the chins online as well now.
Where did this go wrong? Where did the game change all of a sudden, Taco? Was it the Fire Giant Gold Fury calls that seemed to change this game? Is that what it was?
It's really just healer compositions in general. Once you hit that mid-game stride and you have such a heavy healing composition like Allegiance is running, it is pretty heavy. People sleep on Cupid Hearts.
Cupid Hearts, Terra heals, and then the Amaterasu heals as well.
Plus the meditation that's been coming through really strong as well. And it's a lot more burst healing than what people would expect.
Look at the player damage versus the healing. 14,000 healing there coming out from Terra, CycloneSpin, whereas it's only 17,000 damage on the side of Agni, which means Agni's done 3,000 damage this game is the best way to look at it.
Pretty much, and that's actually just so... It is really bad.
It's crazy.
It's crazy because you see Allegiance just... It looks like for a moment that they are going to get the worst end of these trades, but then next thing you know, they're just backing off into
Hearts,
the Terra heals,
meditates.
meditations, and yeah, the Cupid Hearts have honestly just... Those little burst heals are just insane.
It's really caused a problem now for eUnited because they're up against it with 2 Phoenixes down. This roster has been through the wars before up against deficits like this, and we saw Noble earlier on, so they're not out of it just yet. We'll see if they can hold on here. The next Fire Giant is probably the biggest telltale sign here.
Fire Giant is going to be really important for eUnited because if they can pull off a successful defense there and potentially pick 1 or 2 characters, it'll give them a chance to get their Phoenixes back up. But if that Fire Giant goes the way of Allegiance, it's going to be really difficult for them to go ahead and cut them off.
Do you think eUnited defend the Fire Giant here, or do they just wait? Do they try and contest the Fire Giant, or would you rather wait in base and hope to fight at that last Phoenix?
I don't think they can afford to wait in base and let Allegiance pick up that Fire Giant because typically that's what you'd expect to see from a team is once you have 2 Phoenixes down, you might as well just defend your base. But the problem is, since Allegiance has the sustain, if eUnited opt to try and take a fight with them outside of the base with a sustain healer comp already, plus Fire Giant regeneration and, you know, defense and power, it's just... it'll be way too difficult, I think, and they'll just get overly encompassed by
Oh, this could
the
be
damage.
awkward, because look at that left-hand side there. Can you see those fire minions just pouring into the Titan right now? All members of eUnited are collapsing around the fire giant. It's already below half health right now with Viriziel dipping out. It looks like eUnited have given this up, but they've also taken 3 damage to their Titan, and now Allegiance will be knocking on that right-hand Phoenix's door.
Frenzy coming through just in case to go ahead and secure it. But eUnited, like you said, they were not looking to engage. They wanted to just back off. They waited a little bit too long. They let Allegiance get in place underneath the fire giant, and once it get bursted to 50% health, it's much too easy for Allegiance to go ahead and secure that.
Well, this game 1's looking good for Allegiance now. Can they close it out on this final push down through the right-hand side? Minions on the middle and left. The left Phoenix about to come up, but there's a fire minion wave waiting there to start bringing it down, and that minion wave that just spawned is going to cause eUnited a more of a problem, because those minions might have just died to the Titan. Now they won't this time round. Still, PolarBearMike happy to siege up the front line. Great stun. Weekend goes in, drops the ult again onto Khaos. Khaos is trying to run for his life. He will get away, but the Phoenix has already fallen. Allegiance going to hold off, though, and just sustain back up.
Sustaining. It's just been the name of the entire game, and it's just so difficult for eUnited to try dealing with this. I mean, you just see Ocean's half health already after being like 30%, and he's going to immediately heal back up from his hearts.
No messing around from Allegiance, though. They want the left Phoenix and the middle one as well. The middle one spawned, and it kind of threw him off for a second of which one to go for, but they'll take the middle first of all. PolarBearMike has fire minions here, so that will bring down the left-hand one as Yankee's a little bit far forward there, but he will blink back to safety just about for a second, but Benji's having none of that. He's still trying to chase that Thoth down as Oceans is in the base, causing havoc, killing people in the fountain if he can. The Titan is just continuing to whack away at Allegiance, but the sustain once more.
Fire minions are just pouring in non-stop into the base of eUnited, and there's really not going to be much of a response. Benji was out of position,
Oh, he's
went
dead
too
now.
far up, and now he's gone.
Viriziel pulls to him, but it's not enough to bring him down. The Titan is still whacking away on Allegiance, and Allegiance don't care. They have taken game 1, 27 to 5, so 25 to 7 at the end of that game in under 31 minutes as well. Taco, surprised, was it the game was balanced up to a point, and then we look back, it was Fire Giant, Gold Fury.
Like I said, that immediate mid-lane fight was just, once the sustain started coming through, it just all started going downhill for eUnited.
Well, let's go over to the people who are allowed a desk, and they're standing by right now to break down that game 1.
Thanks a lot, Hindu. Thanks a lot, Taco. Absolutely crushing on the cast today. And we are going to break down how ALG absolutely crushed the opposition. I think it was 25 to 7, not 27-5. 25 to 7 was the final kills right there. ALG above eUnited. So eUnited come up short in their first game under the new banner. Real talk, one word answer, or I guess one phrase answer. Totally, what was the downfall of eUnited if you had to boil it down to 1 point?
Honestly, it was not being able to deal with the healing. The healing was just too much coming on the side of ALG. The anti-healing came a little bit too late, unfortunately, for eUnited, and they just got overran by it.
A lot of strong trades that look to be pretty even, but whenever you're trading even against a team with a healer, then that's always going to favor the team with those healers. And then the Gold Fury call where eUnited gives up the Gold Fury and then immediately goes towards the Fire Giant. They secure it, but they lose multiple members and multiple towers off of it, more importantly, giving up a lot of pressure on the map that opens it up for ALG to take the win.
So those calls, that's been a calling card of this PainDeViande roster, whether it's enemy, whether it's eUnited or Legion of Carrots. That's been something that PainDeViande has really had in his wheelhouse since he moved over to the support position a number of years ago, originally a hunter. So this is the identity of the team. At what point do these really risky but high risk, high reward calls, at what point does that start becoming an issue for the squad?
I mean, early on in Season 3, that was the thing that set enemy apart and really got them their early leads in that league, was the quick Gold Fury calls, the sneaking of the objectives. But towards the end of Season 3, teams just caught on. If you're playing up against Pain, you warded the objectives and understand that if everyone's missing, they are on the objective. They might not be on the objective. They are always on the objective, and you go and check it, and you wipe them for it. That was one of the big reasons we saw them really have less success towards the end of Season 3. And more of the same in Season 4. It was close with a different mate. Agni not the greatest at securing a big objective like Fire Giant like that. If you've got something that can really do that objective damage a little bit better, maybe it works out. But I mean, again, they get the Fire Giant. They just can't retreat and save the lives of themselves.
The problem was the fact that the aggression from eUnited hasn't been able to be so successful this time around because the fact that they weren't as mobile as they generally would like to be.
So you guys were pointing out the healing before. Look at that, 24,000 healing.
Yep.
Compared to 3.
And look at the damage mitigated as well. I mean, Allegiance just had an excellent frontline presence with CycloneSpin on the Guardian, PolarBearMike playing the Amaterasu. There was just too much damage being soaked up by Allegiance, not only by that mitigated, but by that healing as well.
Just that's the one number that crushes it for me. It's the 21,000 healing differential between the two teams.
And unfortunately for eUnited, they got off to a really slow start. Despite finding the first kill onto CycloneSpin in that lane, got him to really low. The fact that it was actually PainDeViande that was just getting bullied every single time. The immobile Garden Ymir getting exploited yet again for the second time today.
So here's the question I posed to you earlier. I mentioned it to Aggro that this sort of high risk, high reward strategy out of enemy, specifically regarding the objectives, has become kind of an issue. Can eUnited, not enemy, can eUnited maintain that identity, switch it up a little bit, and improve for Season 4? Or is it time for eUnited to move on past the objectives and find something new?
I mean, they have such a unique style when they always are so aggressive, but they need to figure out ways to go about it, because with Season 4 changing so much of the things, everyone's been banning them out. They're not letting the Giannis go through for Khaos as well. It makes it a little bit difficult for them to go for the same Season 3 style. They got stopped at the halfway point, and now for Season 4, they changed their roster a little bit in the solo lane, and they have to figure out a different option.
That brings me to my maybe final question, but definitely one of the questions that have been weighing heavily on my head. Benji in the solo lane. So a little bit of history. Benji was a part of the original roster that PainDeViande brought out. He made himself kind of famous for bringing 4 unknown players to the forefront and making it to the finals at Worlds. And then he pretty much does the same thing the next year with Khaos and a whole new group of bandits. So Benji was part of the first class of the Church of Pain. Now that he's back, we saw one game. I'll ask Aggro, and then Toli, I want you to follow up. Just how do you feel about Benji?
I mean, it's solo, right? Like, there's not a whole lot of synergy that you need to have as far as the early game goes, but once you get into the late game stages, you have to know exactly where your solo laner is, who he's zoning out, what cooldowns are down, if he's okay, things like that. It's going to take a little bit of time for you to get back into the normal swing of things as far as, exactly where Benji is in terms of the team fight. It wasn't poor in game 1. It would be my sort of analysis on that, but we haven't seen the best of Benji on this roster quite yet.
There's no more highlight plays for solo laners any longer for Season 4. CycloneSpin used to carry his team to victory every single time. Benji was winning matchups he shouldn't have won before. This time around, with CycloneSpin playing the Terra, he was more of an impact in the later game teamfights, having more sustain, having more control. We saw Benji playing the Vamana, trying to dive the backline with the big baby. Wasn't as impactful, didn't survive very long, and this is why ALG was able to overcome eUnited. You have to figure out a strategy now where your solo laner is not going to necessarily win the laning matchup, but it's going to have a bigger impact in these mid to late game team fights.